And here we are. We have improving weather conditions for the next couple of days across the Northeast and in the Mid Atlantic, into the Mid Atlantic states. In fact, some of that improvement has already gotten underway. We've got some thunderstorms running around in parts of the Gulf states and in Southwest Texas and into New Mexico, and that's where our severe weather is going to be centered tonight. And we've got otherwise nice weather across the plains and much of the Ohio Valley. So enjoy it because some of that nice air is moving east. And we are the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And you can, of course, support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. If you shop on Amazon, consider using our referral link. Where is that referral link? Well, it's on the descriptor to this podcast. It's also pinned to the top of the chat board for easy access. Just search and shop, and Amazon will throw us back a little bit of coin for sending you there, and it doesn't cost you 1 extra cent. So really, the only thing you have to do, besides use your credit card, is click on the link, and it keeps the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, at least the live part of the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, commercial free. And brought to you by Tempest, by WeatherFlow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link for this is on the descriptor to this podcast. It's not pinned to the top of the chat board. It's just on the descriptor to this podcast. And use that coupon code SUMMER2025, because if you do, Joe Rayo will personally see to it that you get
10% off. And I will.
Yes, you will, won't you? So you had some showers, you had some thunderstorms early in the day.
But we're not done, Joe.
Yeah, and there's still some stuff on the radar. But you did, some parts of eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England actually did see improving weather conditions during this afternoon. But there's like one more little line that's got to go by.
Right, that one more little line probably will move to our east after sundown this evening, which is approximately, I would say, 45 minutes or so. And we have had a quick burst of rainfall here in Putnam Valley, and places generally north of Interstate 287 here in the lower Hudson Valley have seen some activity, some even a little bit of lightning and thunder as well. But again, this is the trailing end of a system, a front, I guess you'd call it, that is going to be moving to our east. Hey, by the way, SPC, I guess you noticed, SPC put us in marginal risk. They
did. They did that. They did that overnight.
I did not see. I looked this morning, and they still had the marginal risk just about up to New York City. I guess I either missed something, or maybe my cache did not.
Yeah, you needed to hit the refresh button because I was up early and they had pushed the marginal risk up the Hudson Valley to Western Mass and much of Connecticut. So yeah, you probably needed to just. Sometimes you gotta on some of these websites, these NOAA websites. Some of them will refresh automatically and some of them won't. So I just make it a habit of just like hitting the refresh button whenever I go on one of them if I haven't been on them for a couple of hours.
Yeah, we had been talking for the last couple of days, though, about the fact that the tri-state area might very well be in marginal risk, and it took until the actual day of the event, but it has happened, and more toward the latter end of the day, as opposed to this morning. Now, this morning we had some hard downpours throughout much of the Hudson Valley. I didn't see very much in the way of any lightning and thunder. But then, as we moved into the latter part of the day, again, we saw, I guess thanks to some heating, the sun did come out. Temperatures locally jumped to 79. It was a big improvement from yesterday when we were only in the lower 60s. And that was just enough to warm the atmosphere, to make things unstable, and to set the stage for, again, some hit or miss boomers that we're seeing on the radar right now. In fact, let me show you that radar. We're going to go to Upton, to New York radar.
Rayos radars.
Let me just get it on here. Boom, boom, and let's go to. Here we go. Well,
Wait, just really quick, Joe. Rayos radars are brought to you tonight by Doesn't Do Nothing laundry detergent, approved by beatniks everywhere.
thank you. Thank you
Go
so
for it.
much. All
Go
right.
for
So you can see. I hope you can see on your screen. This is from Upton. This is out in Suffolk County, where the National Weather Service Forecast Office is located, and you can see quite clearly that there is a little line of rather intense shower activity, maybe some embedded lightning and thunder. It starts off. This was from about 3 hours ago. Starts off just to the north of northwest New Jersey, and then as time wears on, it kind of gets its act together and again kind of sweeps on through during the 6 to 7 o'clock period. And this radar comes to an end. The last frame is when now? 22, 23:35. I would have thought that this was a little bit further to the east, but in any case, this is the set by 7:35 is when the radar finishes the last frame of the loop. So you can expect that if you're in eastern sections of Westchester County or southwestern Connecticut, that you can expect that within the next 45 minutes or so, you're probably going to see some showery and thundery weather. If you're to the west, let's say over toward Orange County or northwest Jersey, you're pretty well done. In fact, skies out there are probably clearing out nicely, and we will be under an almost full moon tonight. Tomorrow, according to my almanac, is the strawberry full moon of June, and whether you're out tonight late or tomorrow night, that moon will light up the sky because we are anticipating a clear night, or skies becoming mostly clear tonight, and a mainly clear night tomorrow night as well.
All right, welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board and to those of you who are watching in the background or watching the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast for the first time. We welcome you too. Although for those of you who are joining us for the first time, we would just beg the question of what took you so long? Because we're here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. Now, there's going to be two slight schedule changes. Thursday's show, folks, we will start at 8:30.
Right?
Okay. And Sunday being Father's Day, unless the weather world completely falls apart, we're going to take Sunday off. So just mark that down. So Thursday show at 8:30, and barring some sort of weather tragedy, Sunday will be an off day. So there you go.
We deserve it. We are both fathers and we're also grandfathers. So
Fathers, grandfathers, yes, indeed.
yes,
So that's what
absolutely.
I had my Father's Day this past Saturday when I took the boys fishing. So no, I'm just that was last Saturday, Steve Lapointe, and this Saturday, I mean this weekend, Father's Day. I get to do on Father's Day what I've wanted to do, what I've done for the last few years, but always wanted to do on Father's Day was basically to be left alone. So that that's just I don't want to
All right.
barbecue. I don't want to do. I don't know. There's 364 other days where I could be doing things. Father's Day is, I just want to be, I'll hear from my kids and hear from my grandkids, and that's fine by me. No, the fishing was last Saturday, so I'm not
Well,
doing that again.
we're going to go on Sunday, Father's Day, to my son and daughter-in-law's house. We'll interact again with our 16 plus month old grandson. But the day before, on Saturday, I don't quite know exactly what to expect. My son says that he is quote kidnapping me and taking me to some kind of a movie that he says is perfect for the occasion, perfect for Father's Day weekend. I've checked online trying to figure out what possible movie.
Movie it could be?
Excuse me.
What movie it could be?
what movie it possibly could be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is Texas Chainsaw Massacre playing again right now?
I tell you, we went to see a movie. I think it was like 15 years ago. Uh, we went. He wanted to go see this movie. It was based in part on characters from the TV show Saturday Night Live. The name of the movie was MacGruber. MacGruber. So we went to our local theater at the Cortland Town Center in northern Westchester. And Joe, not only was this movie one of the worst movies I've ever seen, I guess word got out because we were the only two people in that theater. The only two people. Have you ever gone to a movie and you and your friend or whatever, or maybe you, your own self or whatever, only people in the theater. The rest of the theater was empty. Nobody else in that theater except my son and myself watching this movie MacGruber, and
Oh,
very forgettable. I think it was like 2 days later. It was already out on VHS.
remind me after the show is over. To relay to you a move. I can't do it. I cannot do this publicly. I can only do this with you privately. So I
Right.
will relate a movie story to you, but off the air. So anyway, by the way, for those of you who like the show, hit the like button because we always like it when people hit the like button. So shall we begin?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll start off with the watches and mornings, Babby. I'm been so used to the last couple of weeks when we get when it's showtime and we pull up the watches and warnings map and there's all sorts of severe thunderstorm watches and tornado watches and various areas with warnings of one kind or another from the standpoint of severe weather. But tonight it's actually fairly quiet. There's some stronger storms along the central Gulf Coast, which I'll show on the wide radar in just a second. But the only places where we have watches is in southwest Texas and in southeast New Mexico. And there's a number of counties in there that also have some flash flood warnings going on and a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. So it's busy there. Southern Arizona and Southern California, uh, in the deserts in Southern California, have an excessive heat watch up. We also have, I think, what is that purple? Is that excessive heat warning? Uh, an extreme heat warning. Okay. And that's for two counties in the Sierra Nevadas and the counties that are in in southern Nevada, including Las Vegas. We have some heat advisories up in eastern Washington and northern Idaho. A couple of flash flood watches up in uh, south central Oregon, and that really is about it. Everybody else is uh, just on the quiet side, and you can see on the satellite with the lightning strikes going on. That line that Joe showed you, I'm just going to give this a quick refresh so we can have at least the latest frame on here. So the last frame on this satellite loop is from 7:36 Eastern time. It's hard to see. There are just a couple of lightning strikes. It's like the southern tail of this weather front that's pushing through. It's a little more obvious when you go up into Vermont and then on the Canada side in the St. Lawrence River and in Quebec. So we're just kind of getting skimmed by this southern tail, and that's going to be moving out in short order. And there's a fair amount of dry air. Also, I'm seeing, Joe, there's some milky white again because of the fact that you've got this deep upper low that's north of Lake Huron and lifting northeastward. So I think some Canada wildfire smoke is getting involved to some extent, but not enough to have air quality alerts up. But I think from the satellite, that's probably what that haze is. You see a lot of lightning strikes in southern Louisiana and then across the lower Gulf states to Georgia and also in Florida and back over into West Texas, Southwest Texas, and into New Mexico. And that's where we have some action tonight. Most of what you're seeing over Louisiana, Mississippi, and southern Alabama, heavy rain, the occasional severe thunderstorm warning box that pops up, and the occasional flash flood warning box that pops up. We also have some clusters in Georgia, but there are large areas in Georgia where not much is happening. In Texas, you can see the yellow boxes coming and going, and the green boxes are all flash flood warnings. And out in the Rockies, a lot of patchy shower activity from New Mexico into Colorado. This time, they're all west of I-25, back to through Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, and then into parts of interior Oregon and Northern California. And here's that line in the Northeast. And you see that little southern end there that Joe described earlier on the radar that's just kind of chugging along. So once that thing just passes by in another hour or two and it's out to sea, we can go in and just put it into cruise control for a little bit. The Storm Prediction Center tonight, slight risk in Texas, marginal risk along the coast, and they have it all the way up into Vermont. But for the most part, that's already kind of played itself out. And there's also a couple of areas of marginal risk in Montana and up into Oregon. The next 2 days, we don't see anything of consequence really. Marginal risk in much of the southern half of Texas, marginal risk from southeast South Dakota, northeastern Nebraska, east across Iowa to southern Wisconsin and Illinois. Also, a larger area in the northern Rockies encompassing Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, and northern Utah. And then for day 3, we have a marginal risk in the parts of the central and northern plains, as well as cutting across the middle part of the state of Texas from east to west. They also have, Joe, a finger of general thunderstorms. So this would be Thursday into Friday. The finger of general thunderstorms cuts across Pennsylvania, southern New York, northern New Jersey, Long Island, and into southern New England. And I think that has to do with that little backdoor cold front that's going to be trying to push southward.
Right. In fact, on Thursday, even though the models, the short-term models for Thursday, really don't show very much in the way of the probability of any kind of precipitation, I did throw in the possibility or the mention of a late day thunderstorm, mostly north of Interstate 84, the Interstate 84, I-84 corridor. Um, I would suspect that if we do see anything on Thursday, it would come late in the day or maybe carry over into Thursday night. And then, by then, maybe even areas south of 84 might get a hit or miss shower or storm, kind of like what we're seeing right now. So much of the day on Thursday will be dry. It'll also be noticeably warmer. Joe, tomorrow, a beautiful day out there, low dew points in the low to mid 50s, temps mostly in the low to mid 80s with a fair amount of sunshine, in fact, mostly sunny skies. Thursday, an unseasonably warm day. Temperatures in some spots may push toward 90. But again, as you point out, there's that weak weather front that will be working its way down from the north, and it may just have enough to trigger, again, a few hit or miss showers and storms, mainly north and west of, well, north and west of New York City, late in the day on Thursday and on into Thursday night. So something I think worth mentioning or worth throwing in to the forecast so nobody gets surprised. It's not likely it's going to happen, but if it does, at least you mentioned it. It's as Tex Antoine, the late Tex Antoine, used to say, a front is a front, and that evolved. Tex Antoine was not a meteorologist, but he pointed out over time because he had his forecasts from the National Weather. He would talk on a daily basis. He'd call up the National Weather Service people, or back in the day it was the United States Weather Bureau, and they would tell him something like, "Well, we have a cold front coming through, but we don't think it's going to generate anything because it'll be a dry front. It'll pass on through. Nobody will notice anything." And Tex said, more often than not, the supposed dry front generated a thunderstorm or a shower here and there. So from then there on, he said, whether it's dry or whatever the kind of front it is, it's a front. A front is a front. A front is capable, any front is capable of generating a shower or thunderstorm. So using Antoine's rule, why not? So we'll mention the possibility, especially north and west, of a shower or storm late Thursday into Thursday night. And by Friday morning, that front should be past us, and that should set the stage for a relatively decent end of the week on Friday. The weekend, on the other hand, well, I'll leave
Well,
that up to you, Joe.
WPC's got a half to 3/4 of an inch. And we know that that's not front end loaded because nothing's going to happen until we get to the weekend. And that extends up into Maine, except in northern Maine is much less. Also over New Brunswick, there's much less on the Canada side. You've got pockets that half to the 3/4 of an inch covers a large portion of the east, the Ohio Valley, the Gulf states. There are some pockets of an inch and a half plus. One is the west coast of Florida. Another one is eastern North Carolina. Another one is right over me in North Georgia. I had one of those days today where every time the sun came out within an hour, we had a downpour. So it was not the best of days here. We've had quite a bit of rain. I think we're pushing since the beginning of May, actually, probably since the 10th or so of May. We're pushing about a foot of rain in the last 30 days. Uh, Larger rainfalls of an inch and a half to as much as 3 or 4 inches possible in much of the eastern half of Texas, as well as into southeast Oklahoma, western Arkansas, an inch and a half plus over western Louisiana and southern Louisiana. And some of that is front end loaded with what's going on tonight. So there's that. We also have inch and a half to 3 inches being indicated in southern Minnesota, into Wisconsin, northern Iowa, back into eastern South Dakota, with a half to 3/4 and some pockets of higher amounts extending west into Montana and northern Wyoming. So here's the problem, because there's always a problem. Now, front goes out week high in the Tennessee Valley, which is kind of good because that makes for a west wind, so you don't have to really worry too much about the ocean holding temperatures down, except for local sea breezes. And that makes for a nice day Wednesday. But there is a rotation in Atlantic Canada, and around that is a little backdoor cold front and upper trough that comes through, or at least approaches late Thursday. And you can see the Europeans got something that forms in Michigan and then runs rapidly southeastward Thursday afternoon and evening. It basically falls apart by the time it reaches the coast, but it does have something there, so you have to at least cover for that possibility. The backdoor front is going to start. It doesn't really edge too far south on Friday, but it makes itself known as we move into Saturday. There are some showers and storms that move across upstate New York and New England on Friday. And then with that weather front kind of settling somewhere across maybe southern New Jersey into Maryland and Delaware on Saturday, it sort of puts us in a strange place where we'll have an east wind, but it's not a strong easterly flow. And then you're going to have to deal with ripples that are going to be coming in from the west. Low
Right.
pressure there, a little low in northern Illinois. You start to maybe get into some rain or a thunderstorm possibly late Saturday afternoon and Saturday night. And then Europeans generating a decent area of showers and thunderstorms overnight, Saturday night into Sunday morning. And then after about, and lasting into midday. Now, after that, it looks like pressures may try and rise a little bit. And that, I mean, I suppose there's the outside chance that you could see some improving weather conditions later Sunday. But we got to be a little cautious here because we got 3 or 4 isobars there from the east. So it could be problematic. We'll just have to make a judgment on this. Maybe when we get to Thursday, we'll have a better idea. And then after that goes out, of course, things will improve somewhat on Monday and Tuesday of next week. And then there's something else at the end of next week and maybe the following weekend. We seem to be in one of these situation patterns, Joe, where the weekends are, are getting all the rainfall systems, and the weekdays are seeing the better weather in general.
Right smack in the middle of the week. I said yesterday that the pick of the week probably is going to be tomorrow with the temperatures reaching up into the low to mid 80s, the low dew points, the lots of sunshine. And people will be outside tomorrow, Joe, and they'll say, why can't this be Saturday or Father's Day Sunday? Well, it's because.
It's because, yeah,
Yep.
we have a little bit of ridging here in the east for the remainder of the week, which gets flattened out to some degree. but not a lot. But then here we go with another big trough going into the weekend of the 20th and the 21st and 22nd, moving through the Dakotas. I mean, if that's real, where you have a pretty strong short wave and a wrapping up upper low in Minnesota like that, that's probably going to, and this is, we've seen the European do this for a few runs now. This opens up the door for maybe a big severe weather day in parts of the upper Mississippi Valley and into the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley, that eventually swings eastward. It just seems to me like the way this month has been going with this upper air pattern and this tendency for troughs to keep wanting to amplify when they get into the eastern part of the United States, I just don't see anything. Again, you get the odd day where everything sets up right, where you're going to see some very warm to borderline hot temperatures, and Thursday's the day for that this week. But going forward, I mean, except for those odd days that are going to pop up from time to time, if we keep getting these troughs dropping here into the eastern part of the United States like this, um, when I say the eastern part, I'm talking from, like, say, from the Mississippi River eastward. It's going to mean that you're not going to be able, and I think it's a good thing that you're not going to be able to string together hot weather for more than that odd day here and there.
It'll be interesting to see just when. Well, we mentioned this last night about the fact that later next week we may be primed for rather hot conditions. The climate prediction. In fact, I hadn't had a chance to look at the CPC forecast for today. Let me go ahead and I'll do that now and see if we come up with anything unusual. If they're still calling for the possibility for excessive heat for the latter part of next week. So
All right, there
keep
you are.
talking.
All right, well, you put it on the screen. I'm going to look at the GFS to see if we have the daily zombie tropical storm or hurricane on this run.
Oh,
But
now it has changed according to
really,
CPC. I will put it up right now
okay.
and show this to you. Now, if you remember last night they had almost up to New York City the risk of hazardous temperatures. It was a slight risk, and they had it for the time frame from the 19th through the 21st. Well, guess what? Now they're pushing the slight risk possibility for hazardous temperatures further back to the west into extreme western Pennsylvania, the Ohio Valley, and on into the central and north central plain states. But here in the Northeast, there is no risk for any kind of hazardous weather. You could see here, I've zoomed in now on the Northeast. You could see that right here. This is the slight risk. So my presumption is that temperatures at or above 90, perhaps or maybe 95. I'm not sure exactly what hazardous temperatures, what the criteria is for that. But in Ohio, they had that for the 19th to the 22nd. The extreme southern end of the lower peninsula of Michigan, much of Indiana, and also a good part of Illinois. Except in Illinois, they go back for that slight risk for hazardous temperatures, the 18th to the 21st. So, in other words, in here, it's the 18th to the 21st for hot temperatures. Then they advance it to the 19th to the 22nd of June for the Ohio Valley. Whether or not that may be advanced further to the east, that might put us, with hot
I
temperatures.
would say I would say it won't advance to the east if the European is correct.
If you do simple extrapolation, but you may be right because again, last night they had virtually all of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and right up to our area in
Mhm.
that chance or slight risk, and now they pushed everything back to the west.
Right.
So
And I would also add, by the way, that area and the dates would correspond with that shortwave and deepening trough coming in, moving into Minnesota. If that verifies, you'll get not only get the heat, but you're probably going to get some rather robust severe weather outbreaks from that.
and here's the 6 to 10 day outlook from the 16th through the 20th of June. Virtually the entire country is at or above the probability for warmer than normal or hotter than normal temperatures. The only place on this map where it looks like it'll be below normal or cooler than normal will be out in the Pacific Northwest for western sections of Oregon and also much of Washington state. Everywhere else, you can see with the orange and red coloration suggesting that it will be above normal, or at least the probability will be for above normal temperatures. Even in Alaska, much of Alaska above normal, and even above normal in Hawaii as well. So it looks like we're going to be heading for a warmer than normal stretch of weather beginning about the middle of next, well, actually, according to this, beginning at the start of next week, 16th of June, running all the way until the 20th. That's a week from Friday.
By the way, the GFS does not have any tropical systems for a change. We have what's left of Tropical Storm Barbara dying in the Pacific, and there's another one that formed to the west of that, I'm sorry, Cosme, and that's going to just die in the Pacific too. So usually when the Pacific is active, the Atlantic is quiet, and the Pacific is active right now, which means that the Atlantic is quiet and will likely stay quiet. However, Mr. Rayo, it's now time for Briller Jeopardy.
Yes.
It is.
Well, I had the questions last night.
And I have them tonight,
Okay.
as Mr. Scott sent them to me. So we are continuing on this theme of average lows in June. We will begin with one of yours and mine, one of our favorite cities, because when you're driving through Ohio, there ain't another thing clean to Cincinnati.
Yeah. The Queen City.
Right.
Cincinnati. Now, these are average lows?
Average lows for the month of June.
Oh, dear me. Average lows. I don't know, 62?
Well, that's a good way to start things off. Ringing the bell for yourself, 62.
Oh, wonderful. Ta-da!
All right, the next one is Dallas, Fort Worth, or Fort Worth, Dallas.
How about? I'm gonna jump 10 degrees. How about 72?
You were right to jump. A little short, but you were right. Steve LaPointe, though, got it at 74.
Hey,
74.
Steve. Hey, ding, 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 ding for Steve LaPointe.
All right, so now back northeast, past Cincinnati, drive northward into Michigan, and it's Detroit.
Detroit. How about 59?
Very close. Very close. But not quite there. Vincent Croce, David Fuller, all at 60. 60 is it. 60.
Gentlemen, for your 60. Ding, ding.
Now let's turn back around and drive southwest, back to Texas and Houston.
Does humidity count with this too? I would say for Houston, how about 75?
And you can ring the bell for yourself.
I don't believe it.
75.
Wow.
Well, I did well last night. What did I get? 3 of them last night on the nose?
Yeah, you had like 3 out of 5 last night.
Yeah. And Hartford.
Hartford.
So now you drive east. So you drive east on I-10. You get on I-10. You go up I-75. You go up I-85. From 85, you get on 95. And then from 95, you get to 91, and you go to Hartford.
How about 62?
That's too high. Too high for Hartford. Rich Rothmansky, however, has nailed it at 58, and David Carter missing by 1 at 57, and Frank Scalera missing it by 1 at 57.
I think the best answer on the chat board is Harold Olson. He went 37 Kelvin.
great. Nothing like having your molecules just basically standing in place at 37 Kelvin. Um, so there you go. The bonus question.
The bonus.
Um, the bonus question is the Valley of Death.
Oh, Death Valley.
Yeah.
Well, Death Valley, being a desert and being below sea level or whatever, they could radiate quite a bit. You can have exceedingly hot temperatures during the day, but at night they can go down like a rock. Um, I'll say something surprising. I'll say I'm going to go with Mike Waterhouse Bonsai. I'll say 55.
No, not even. No, nowhere near that. Nowhere
So,
near that.
so it
Actually,
was
Frank
higher.
Scalera and Rich Rothmansky are both exceedingly close. So is Cardillo, Chuck, at 81. The average low actually is 80 for the month in Death Valley.
Really,
Yeah.
really.
I mean,
Well, I learned
I
something.
would have used the same logic. I would have thought, I would have thought it could be lower. You get in certain times of year in those desert areas, it could get down to like 32 at night and go to 90 in the afternoon. So,
Exactly,
you know,
exactly. Very, very dry. No, hardly any dew point of significance to speak of in those places. So
yeah. All right. I don't have much else to say. It's been a pretty good day for me today, so I'm in a good mood. Few people have caught on to that. I am in a good mood today. So there's that. And I guess we'll be back tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. Eastern time.
we'll be here.
All right, don't forget, folks, the schedule change for Thursday is 8:30, and we're probably going to take Father's Day off. Yes, I'm extra chipper tonight, Rich Rothmansky. I'm feeling good. So we'll see everybody tomorrow. Good night.
Good night, folks.